plans were all in place for Viscount Langdale's escape. After swearing Lady Laura to secrecy, I gave her the instructions. As soon as she left my chambers, Sir Artemis entered with the documents he retrieved from Viscount Langdale's desk.
Here are the reports from Viscount Langdale's investigation, Your Majesty. As soon as I retrieved these reports, I observed palace guards heading to his quarters.
Did they see you?
I remained unseen, Your Majesty.
Sounds like you got there just in time. Aldrich is undoubtedly seeking to suppress Langdale's findings. Excellent work, Sir Artemis.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Skimming through the report, one detail caught my eye. The mention of the red flame star ring. Langdale claimed that Rothescue received this ring from Rose. It was the only explanation that made sense. How else would Rothescue come to possess the ring? The ring's origins and its connection to Rose were not widely known. I secured the report in a hidden compartment of my desk and dismissed these thoughts for the moment. The priority was Langdale's imminent fate. Are you confident in your task ahead, Sir Artemis?
Yes, Your Majesty. It will be done.
Excellent. And Sir Artemis, if Viscount Langdale is caught, make sure he's executed on sight. If any word of our plan escapes, the consequences will be grave.
Laura slipped quietly through the prison corridors. The noble wing was empty, except the cell at the end holding Viscount Langdale. As Laura stepped closer, she could see him seated on the floor. He didn't appear to be moving. She whispered softly to him.
Viscount Langdale.
The Viscount remained still.
Viscount, are you awake?
Viscount Langdale's eyes blinked open. Yes, I was offering the gods a silent prayer. Laura, I presume.
Yes, the Queen has sent me to release you. Hurry, we have little time.
Viscount Langdale rose to his feet and handed Laura an envelope through the bars of his cell. I have written a letter for Duchess Betha. Would you please deliver it to her?
Yes, Viscount. Now please, we must go.
Laura unlocked the cell door. Viscount Langdale's freedom was at hand. As he stepped out, he removed the desert flower ring from his finger. Please return this to the Queen, Laura, and thank her from the bottom of my heart.
I will deliver the ring and the message to her. Now hurry, and good luck.
With that, Viscount Langdale proceeded down the corridor past the empty cells and out of the prison gate. As Viscount Langdale crept through the palace, he ducked behind a column to hide from a group of patrolling guards. Did you hear the king's concubine is with child? Yes, I've heard. But will she survive the assassination attempt? She will, and so will her child. The madman who attacked her will be beheaded in the morning. He deserves worse. It's almost mercy. Viscount Langdale, overhearing the guards, knew the entire palace was a death trap for him. Once the guards passed by, he quietly made his way into the next corridor. All he had to do now was make it to the door at the end of the hall. He was halfway there when he heard voices coming towards him. It was the king, addressing a group of 5 men that surrounded him. We are to spare no expenses for Rose. She is to be cared for by the best doctors in the realm, and I want the quarters adjacent to hers turned into a nursery immediately. Viscount Langdale noticed the men in Aldrich's company included several knights. They would surely catch him in no time. He looked for some place he could stay out of sight. There was nothing in the corridor but a small table he could hide under. Viscount Langdale ducked underneath, but soon realized the gap between the legs was too large. He knew there was no way to avoid being spotted now. But then a pair of legs stepped in front of the table, blocking the Viscount from view. He recognized the voice of Sir Artemis. Your Majesty, the Queen would like a word.
Upon my entry, Aldrich looked up at me in surprise. I could see Viscount Langdale in the space between Sir Artemis's legs. This was his chance. He crawled out from under the table and slipped down the corridor unnoticed. But Aldrich would surely demand an explanation for my appearance. I had to improvise.
Bronwyn? What brings you here so urgently?
It concerns Viscount Langdale, Your Majesty. Aldrich's demeanour shifted, his voice taking on a dismissive tone.
The Queen should not meddle in this matter.
I urge you to reconsider. Commute his sentence from execution to exile. Aldrich waved his hand. Annoyance flickered in his eyes.
If that's the nature of your visit, I would advise you to leave immediately.
Your Majesty, consider the broader implications.
Langdale endangered my unborn baby. The consequences are irrelevant to me.
What about the truth of his accusations? Does that not even concern you?
His motives are irrelevant to me as well. I will have it known that any attempt on my unborn child's life will be met with execution. That is all. Now leave me, Bronwyn. I have pressing matters to attend to.
If the king were to leave now, Langdale would surely be caught. I decided to take a different approach. Then it seems I must address the findings of Langdale's investigation myself.
What do you mean? What investigation?
It regards an incident separate from the attack on your concubine, which, by the way, was not an attack on your unborn child. Aldrich stared at me for a moment, then began to laugh.
What exactly are you implying, Bronwyn? Is the Queen threatening to spread gossip about Rose unless I change Viscount Langdale's punishment to exile? Are you mad?
Are you aware that there is a report?
I am not falling for this game. I'm warning you, Bronwyn. Get out of my way.
Although I feared Aldrich was about to get violent, I had to press on. Not for Langdale now, but for myself. If you don't handle Viscount Langdale according to the law, I will see to it that the results of the investigation are widely known. And I intend to deal with Rose accordingly. I had Aldrich's attention now.
And how exactly will you do that?
Rose purposely spread rumours to discredit Duchess Betha and tried to undermine her reputation in society. She even went so far as to bribe people. She is stirring the court, your court, to her own ends. I will see to it that she is put on trial. If she is found guilty, I will have her locked up and whipped in public.
You wouldn't dare.
Test me. Aldrich gazed at me with a fury I had never seen before.
I know how much you hate Rose. But do you actually believe I would be lenient to the man who attempted to kill her?
Viscount Langdale's only crime was defending someone whose honour was intentionally destroyed. Aldrich glared at me with a fire in his eyes. I thought he might strike me, but at that moment, a group of palace guards ran toward us.
Your Majesty, Viscount Langdale has escaped. What? Langdale has escaped?
I glanced at the corridor, relieved to see that Viscount Langdale was gone. I prayed that he made it safely to his horse.
Yes, Your Majesty. We will send 10 squadrons of guards to search for the prisoner. We assure you that he will be found by daylight. No, Captain. That will not be necessary.
Aldrich took a deep breath and turned to me.
Viscount Langdale will not be pursued. It will be known he had escaped in the night. I will let this matter be, as long as you agree to my conditions.
Yes, Your Majesty. What are your conditions?
He is never to return here. And you will give me the report of his investigation, and only me.
Aldrich raised his eyebrows at me expectantly. I bowed courteously. Thank you, Aldrich. I accept your conditions.
Excellent. Now, out of my way.
The king pushed me aside and exited the corridor with his entourage. I had won this battle against Aldrich, and helped the man who attempted to murder Rose escape. I had succeeded. So why didn't I feel relieved? Just then I heard a flapping of wings and turned around to see Majesty sitting on a nearby column. Had he watched the entire ordeal with Aldrich? The Midnight Hawk held a letter in his beak and flew between the columns to avoid being seen by the patrolling guards. When it was safe, he flew directly to me, placing the envelope in my hand before flying off. He looked sad. I would have liked to embrace him. It always gave me so much comfort. Settling onto a nearby bench, I carefully opened the envelope. Unlike the brief notes Prince Henry sent before, this was a substantial letter, filled with fragmented yet intriguing thoughts.
Your Majesty, my elder brother's health fails him, and worry clouds my mind. His fate will determine much about my future, as I'm sure you can imagine. Do you happen to recall Haxon, my knight, secretary and cousin? Lately he seems more like a foe than kin. I think you will understand what I mean when I say revenge is a delicate art. First, ensnare a charming man of great renown as a lover. Then, seek counsel from Prince Henry.
The disjointed nature of the letter left me with a mix of emotions. Humor, curiosity, and concern intricately entwined. The mention of Haxon was particularly curious, but the news of the king's ill health in the Celestial Isles weighed heavily. Prince Henry, as the king's successor, might soon be called away. A pang of unease struck me at the thought of his departure. Though we had only been acquainted for a short time, his presence at the palace brought an unmatched comfort.
Why the sad face?
Prince Henry appeared unexpectedly, wearing a mischievous grin. Close behind him stood Haxon, whose respectful bow met my gaze. Prince Henry, exuding quiet strength, extended his arm towards me. Prince Henry, I was not expecting you. Have you been here this whole time?
I thought it would be better to see you after Majesty delivered his letter. I trust you received it.
Yes, Prince, I did.
It seems you are having an eventful night. Would you care to walk with me, Your Majesty?
Yes, I would be delighted. Grasping his arm, the feel of his toned muscles beneath my fingers was startling. A glance downwards revealed nothing but the deceptive softness of his elegant attire. He was slender in appearance, yet beneath lay a surprising strength. How I would delight in bringing him to my room. No, not now, Bronwyn. I chided myself inwardly, cheeks aflame with self-reproach. Prince Henry, sensing my discomfort, turned his gaze towards me.
You seem quite hot, Your Majesty.
I'm sorry?
Your face is quite flushed.
Yes, I am a bit warm. I bit my lip in a mix of embarrassment and suppressed desire, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks as Prince Henry struggled to hold back his laughter. Our stroll continued, the silence punctuated by the soft rustling of leaves.
Viscount Langdale mounted the horse the Queen had provided for him. Here! He grabbed the reins, gave a swift kick into the horse's flank, and galloped away. He had made his escape into the night. Lady Laura appeared from behind a nearby wall. She had been sent to watch and report back her findings.
Her Majesty will be pleased.
As Laura turned to hastily leave, she walked right into Duke Elegy, who was standing behind her. It's quite late for a midnight stroll, Lady Laura. Do you need any assistance?
No, thank you, Duke Elegy. I just wanted some air. Good night.
As Laura scurried away, she failed to notice that the letter from Viscount Langdale to Duchess Betha, as well as the desert flower ring for the Queen, had both fallen from her pocket. Duke Elegy knelt down and picked up the abandoned items. As he stood up, he noticed a man riding a horse off into the distance. Well, well, what do we have here? This is most interesting. Your Majesty, I don't want you catching a cold. You must remain healthy.
Don't worry, Prince Henry. I'm extremely healthy. My grasp on his arm tightened, and he let out a faint laugh. I could not tell what, but to hear his laughter was a gift nonetheless. I clenched my skirt, steering the conversation elsewhere before I forgot myself entirely. Your letter sounds like it requires some immediate action. You must be worried.
Oh, I never worry. Okay, I admit, sometimes I worry, but only slightly.
His statement left me mortified. I had hoped for a serious conversation, yet here we were, caught in an unintentional moment of humour.
For example, I worried that the stationery I wrote on wasn't robust enough. I didn't want it to get torn in Majesty's beak.
Though I scowled, he could not contain his mirth. Do you react to all grave situations with humour?
No, Your Majesty. Only the most grave situations require such a distraction.
I misspoke, Prince Henry. I am sorry for your situation. I would like to know how your brother is doing.
My brother's health has declined. He's not in immediate danger yet, but his constitution has always been fragile, and his doctors are concerned.
If there's anything I can do to help you and your family feel more supported at this difficult time, please don't hesitate to let me know. We are friends. That is a commitment I take seriously. Choosing my words carefully, I expressed my concern without sounding condescending or dismissive. Prince Henry, noticing my troubled expression, attempted to lighten the mood.
Have you given any thought to my suggestion?
Which one?
On how to get revenge. If you are having trouble choosing between the two options, I'd recommend the first.
You mean taking a handsome, well-respected man as my lover?
Your memory is sharp. And if you are interested in a more serious affair...
His voice trailed off, a meaningful look in his eyes. Is he referring to himself? The thought made me pause. But I recalled his earlier teasing and decided to play along. Ah, yes, but unfortunately Artemis already has a loving wife. Henry and I turned to look at my loyal knight trailing behind us, and the three of us could not help but smile.
I see. So, if not Artemis, are there any other handsome, respectable men around?
Not that I can see. I leaned in close to scrutinize his face, as if to assess his handsomeness. With our faces closer than they'd ever been before, I could feel his warmth. I could also smell him, and he smelled wonderful. If only I could taste his lips. My laughter broke the tension building between us, and I grinned, waiting to see if he caught on to my jest.
Are you joking?
Oh no, I'm quite serious, Prince. His face, though sullen, held an endearing quality, making him look more charming than pitiful. We continued walking side by side. The tension between us, a blend of playful banter and unspoken desires, created an electrifying atmosphere, leaving me both exhilarated and slightly overwhelmed. As we strolled through the gardens, the air around us seemed charged with a palpable energy, a dance of words and glances weaving an intricate web of attraction and intrigue. Why don't we stroll over to the Crystal House?
Excellent idea, Your Majesty. I hope it's warm.
The quiet night was pierced only by our footsteps. I was lost in the beauty of our surroundings, unable to find words. The moon, awash with hues of red, cast the Crystal House in a radiant glow, transforming it into a moonlit ruby.
It's a beautiful night, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and a full moon, too. I stood captivated by the sky, a familiar sight, yet strikingly different each time I studied it. My mind, usually teeming with thoughts, found a rare moment of quietude. Henry's violet eyes appeared darker in the dim light.
If I must go back to the Celestial Isles, will you miss me?
The knowledge that Prince Henry, as the successor to the Western Kingdom's throne, would eventually have to return to his homeland, weighed heavily upon me. I found myself lost in the realization of his impending departure. The thought of missing him was new to me. In all my years, I had never truly parted with friends or family. While distant from my family since marriage, they had always been near enough to pay frequent visits. Yes, Prince Henry, I will miss you and Majesty quite a bit. I've grown very fond of you both." My voice was steady, yet carried a sincerity that transcended mere courtesy. He gave a melancholic smile.
"It is not yet time for my departure. We still have time to steal more precious moments like these."
I struggled to find a response, turning back to gaze at the ruby-coloured roof of the crystal house. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Prince Henry pulling out a watch, checking the time with a subtle urgency.
"I'm sorry, Your Majesty, but it is getting quite late. I must excuse myself."
Offering his arm again, he gestured towards the Western Palace. I took his arm, feeling the warmth and strength beneath his sleeve.
Aldrich's gaze was locked on the report sprawled across the desk, his expression a mix of contemplation and frustration. Marquis Carlson, his chief secretary, lingered by his side, watching the king with a concerned eye. "Your Majesty, are you deliberating over the situation with Rose? What choice do I have in the matter? I must at least make an appearance of following the law, yet I will not discipline a woman who is with child. With my child." Marquis Carlson, sensing the gravity of the situation, carefully offered his perspective. "The king has been deep in thought for over 2 hours now. The issue of Rose clearly weighs heavily on his mind. It's certainly a predicament, Your Majesty. However, a low-rank concubine aspiring to high society status must be able to stand her ground to some extent." "So what you're saying, Marquis Carlson, is she needs to defend herself?" "Yes, Your Majesty. I heard about the incident at the tea party between the Duchess and Rose. Such a confrontation might warrant some form of reprimand, don't you think?" Aldrich's frown deepened, a sign of his inner conflict. "This matter, it is mine to handle, not yours." "I apologize, Your Majesty. I did not mean to overstep." Aldrich exhaled a heavy sigh, the weight of his decision evident in his demeanor. He passed the report to Marquis Carlson. "This evidence must be destroyed." "Yes, Your Majesty." Marquis Carlson gathered the report, eager to ease the king's burden. However, after a moment's reflection, Aldrich spoke again, much to Marquis Carlson's surprise. "No, wait. On second thought, I'll keep it." Marquis Carlson nodded, understanding the strategic importance of the king's decision. "Very wise, Your Majesty. As always, you see beyond the present moment." Aldrich leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant, lost in thoughts unknown to Marquis Carlson. The air was thick with unspoken words, the gravity of the situation hanging between them like a heavy curtain. A doctor sat beside Rose's bed, monitoring her breathing. In the room, 2 of her maids stood by, attending to the needs of both Rose and the doctor. On the other side of the bed, Aldrich sat, holding Rose's hand. Slowly, her eyes began to flutter open. "Doctor, she's awake." "Rose, dear, can you hear me?" The doctor reached for her hand, measuring her pulse. Her eyes opened even wider as she and Aldrich exchanged a loving gaze. "Rose, my love, can you hear me?"
"Yes, my king."
Aldrich stared at Rose tearfully, overwhelmed by emotion.
What happened?"
"There was an attack. You were stabbed. I am so relieved you are awake. I will not burden you with the details. There is something else that takes precedent."
"Yes, my king. What is it?"
The worry on Aldrich's face disappeared, and a smile overtook his face. "You are carrying our child."
I'm pregnant?"
The news had been delivered to her abruptly, shattering the stillness of her waking moment. Aldrich nodded, watching as Rose, still dazed, instinctively cradled her belly with her hands. "You must be overwhelmed. I cannot imagine receiving news such as this upon waking. A woman's first child. It must be... I cannot imagine." Rose broke the gaze she held with Aldrich and looked away, contemplating the things he did not know about her. As happy as she was to learn she was pregnant, she knew this was not her first child. Aldrich leaned down to envelop her in a tight embrace. He felt her body tremble against his, and he gently stroked her back, whispering words of gratitude. The desire for a child, a family of my own, had always been a fervent dream. It is about much more than just securing a successor. It is about creating a legacy of love and happiness. You fulfilled this dream so unexpectedly, yet beneath his elation, Aldrich harbored unease. It would have been ideal to father a child with the Queen first. A concubine's offspring, though loved, couldn't claim the throne. The legacy of illegitimate children often led to strife and discord, a fate Aldrich wished to spare his lineage. The joy of this unborn child was mingled with apprehension. Aldrich couldn't voice his inner turmoil to Rose, the mother of his child. He placed his hand tenderly on her stomach, a smile masking his concerns.
"Your Majesty, our baby is within me."
"Is this not incredible?"
"I can hardly believe it."
"Miss Rose, I'll arrange for appropriate medication and a nutritious diet to maintain your health throughout this process. For now, focus on adhering to my prescribed regimen."
"Thank you, Dr. Enric." Aldrich then seated himself beside Rose, his demeanor softening. "If there's anything you crave, anything you desire, just tell me."
"Anything?"
When a mother is content, the child thrives. At his words, tears began to well in Rose's eyes. "What is it, Rose?" Dr. Enric leaned in, concerned that Rose's tears were caused by physical symptoms.
"Are you in pain? Are you feeling sick?"
"No, it's not sickness."
Aldrich, confused and concerned, gently lifted her chin, seeking her eyes. The tears streaming down her face weren't the delicate, poised ones she often shed. They were raw, unrestrained, revealing a depth of emotion she seldom showed.
"I have long lived to hear those words my whole life. You're my saviour, Your Majesty. My love for you is as boundless as the sea."
Her words, laced with unfiltered affection, resonated in the silence that followed. However, the fleeting moment of bliss was soon shattered. Duke Elegy stood by Rose's door, leaning against the frame, as he was wont to do. Rose had recently awoken from one of the most peaceful sleeps she had ever experienced, and it took a moment for her to become aware of the Duke's grave demeanor. She wondered what troubling news was to come.
"Duke Elegy, what brings you here this morning?"
"I've been to Rimwell, Rose. There's a child. I believe it is, in fact, yours."
Rose's eyes widened in shock, her heart pierced by the revelation that the child she thought she had lost forever was indeed still roaming the world. She clasped her belly protectively, fearing the shadow of her firstborn might taint the future of the child she now carried with love. She looked at the man who brought her the unwelcome news.
"Did you confirm it with the church?"
"I did not, no."
"Duke Elegy, if there's no examination, then perhaps the child is not mine. Without proof, no one could suggest otherwise."
"I arrived in Rimwell believing this to be just a ruse. Believe me, Miss Rose, I am on your side. But there was a boy. He bears your likeness. It is indisputable.
The realization hit Rose with the weight of 1,000 bricks. She thought only of the fact that her child was still alive, not ready to even contemplate the identity of who he was with.
This cannot happen. Not now. It needs to be silenced. Or... No, I can't. Duke Elegy, we must handle this discreetly. If the court learns of this, it could ruin my reputation, my unborn child's future, everything.
I understand the gravity of the situation, Miss Rose, but we must tread carefully. Silencing the messenger may only draw more attention.
Then what can we do?
We must investigate quietly, gather more information, and find a resolution that protects your name and the stability of our court.
Agreed. But we must act swiftly before the whispers spread. Whatever the truth is, I cannot let it jeopardize everything I have worked so hard to build. And I must figure out a way to give Rothescue the money he demands.
Why don't I lend you the money, Rose? He offered this a bit too quickly, yet Rose's cautious nature had evaporated under the circumstances. She was now the bearer of the king's child. Her heart soared with happiness, yet her joy was still shadowed by the need for secrecy.
How much?
Any amount you'd like.
1,000 coins should keep him quiet for now.
Then I'll lend you 10,000. 1,000 is far too low. He sat down, producing a promissory note and a pen from his pocket. With deliberate strokes, he filled in his name, signature, and the staggering amount of 10,000 coins. Here, this contract is from the most reputable credit lender on the Wall Continent. From his breast pocket, he then retrieved 2 slips, each worth 5,000 coins.
I don't know how to thank you.
She signed the promissory note, her hand trembling slightly as she accepted the slips. This would buy her peace and quiet, at least for a while. Duke Elegy gazed at her with piercing eyes as he offered a parting piece of advice. You'll wear yourself thin if you let the currents of fate sweep you away. Find a way to stand against them. Rose looked up, a flicker of hope in her eyes.
But how, Duke Elegy?
In your situation, it is hard to say, I must admit. Perhaps turning your attention to the goings-on of other nobles with secrets would do you good. Before I came to the palace, I came across an odd sight. It looked as if the Queen's lady-in-waiting, Laura, was outside the palace walls during the dark of night.
Do you suspect something?
I wouldn't be the one to spread gossip about one of the Queen's ladies. But I will say, it appeared as if there was a man riding off in the distance by horse, the very night Viscount Langdell, the man who stabbed you, escaped. It's a strange coincidence, wouldn't you say?
Do you think it was the Queen who put out the attempt on my life?
That is a grave accusation. Although, under the circumstances, it wouldn't be impossible. I suppose the larger question is why the king so willingly let Langdell go. Surely his knights could have caught the man and dragged him back here within hours. It appears His Majesty may still be under the influence of his wife. Having grown cautious when it came to trusting anyone, Rose considered that the Duke's story was perhaps an attempt to stir the pot of palace drama even further, as a means of entertaining himself. But her intuition told her that there was weight behind his words.
I have a feeling in my heart that the Queen did this.
Oh, I almost forgot, Miss Rose. Laura seems to have dropped this particular ring. Duke Elegy took the desert flower ring out of his pocket and showed it to Rose.
That ring belongs to the Queen. It is a healing ring.
Is it? Well then, I suppose if anyone could use a healing ring at this moment, it is you. You and your baby should be protected by any means. The Duke handed Rose the Queen's ring before turning to leave. He paused, his hand resting on the doorknob. A sly smile crossed his lips as he looked back at Rose. Remember, Miss Rose, power often lies in the secrets that others wish to keep buried.
The evening draped its velvet cloak over the palace as Lady Laura approached me with the tidings. In the dimly lit chamber, where shadows danced on the walls, her words stirred a blend of emotions within me. Rose and the baby are recovering well, Your Majesty. She has received visits from the King and Duke Elegy this morning. I thank you for the update, Laura. So Rose has finally awoken. I masked my turmoil with a practiced smile, my fingers idly tracing the edge of my desk. The other ladies in waiting, previously engrossed in a game of chess, ceased their play and gathered around, their eyes alight with the prospect of fresh palace gossip. The air thickened with whispers. Duchess Betha seeks to sever her marriage to the Duke. Their discord has spilled into the courts over the division of property. Interesting timing, if I do say so myself, Your Majesty, with Viscount Langdale escaping just yesterday. I nodded absent-mindedly, seeking to be left out of the scandal for once. Your Majesty, if I may, what are your thoughts on Viscount Rothescue, the man who once claimed Rose as his slave? The mention of that name caught my attention and sent a shiver down my spine. Rose's former master, a spectre from the past, now intruded into our present. I whipped my head around at Julia. Why mention him now? The lady in waiting leaned closer, her voice a hushed whisper that seemed to carry the weight of dark secrets. I hear Viscount Rothescue seeks residence in the capital, near the palace itself. The very thought of that man, a manipulator and schemer, so close to the palace, sent a wave of unease through me. Is this part of some insidious plan? His past misdeeds, the twisted games he's played with Duchess Betha's reputation, all pointed to a man capable of anything. What do you make of a man like that? First appearing out of the blue, then causing such a stir in court with Rose, and then becoming so close with her. I hear he spends a great deal of time in her quarters. If I didn't know better, it would appear as if he has some kind of hold over her. Are you suggesting he could be blackmailing Rose? The question gnawed at me. A serpent coiled in the pit of my stomach. Laura, sensing the shift in mood, interjected, her voice laced with concern. Your Majesty, I've also heard there are whispers that Rothescue also searches for someone to tend to a child. A nanny, in fact. A child. This complicates matters. I had not anticipated such a detail in the midst of political turmoil. The words echoed in my chamber, mingling with the shadows of the evening. I could feel the weight of their implications. Rose, entwined in the midst of it all, was a concern, yet I found myself hesitant to dive into those murky waters. Seeking distraction, I opened my drawer. My fingers brushed against something unexpected, and I drew out a small, pink bottle. Its presence was like a whisper from the past, forgotten, yet suddenly poignant. I seemed to have forgotten I had this. What's in that pink bottle? Laura's curiosity was piqued as she was momentarily diverted from the topic of Viscount Rothescue. It was a gift, was it not? A love potion, I believe? Yes, a gift from an anonymous sender. I never used it. I had forgotten about it with Aldrich's illness and our visit to the villa. You never opened it. I always considered it a mere jest. But could it be real? After all, stranger things exist in our world. I pondered Laura's words. Indeed, the realms of possibility were vast, yet the notion of a true love potion seemed far-fetched. Still, the bottle in my hand felt heavy with unexplored potential. Your Majesty, perhaps now is a perfect time to unravel the mystery. Who knows what hidden possibilities lie within that delicate bottle? Indeed, Laura, the winds of fate do blow in mysterious ways. But love potions and courtly affairs are a dangerous mix. One misstep and the delicate dance of diplomacy could turn into a chaotic waltz. Sometimes a touch of chaos adds spice to the mundane. Even if I were to use this, to what end? There seems no fitting occasion. But isn't there, Your Majesty? As I turned, the other ladies in waiting had all momentarily frozen in time. All eyes were on me, the implication clear. In response, Laura mouthed only 2 words. her expression conspiratorial. The king. Duke Bjorn, have you finished your report on the import and export prospects we discussed?
I have completed about half of the required task, Your Majesty. I plan to finish before the week is through.
Very well. I'd also like you to calculate the numbers of traders operating between Ret and Wohl. I plan to create an infrastructure where our two countries can become intermediate distributors and receive commissions.
Yes, Your Majesty.
I had arranged today's meeting with Grand Duke Bjorn so that he could provide insight on diplomacy with Ret. But I also had an ulterior motive. The Grand Duke was renowned for his magical abilities, and once we were finished with business, I hoped he might be able to tell me more about the mysterious potion in my pocket. Regardless of how distracted I was by the potion and its even more mysterious sender, I ploughed on with the day's work, since it was necessary to keep our political interests moving forward. We continued to prattle on about the particulars of global trade until we covered every item on the agenda. Now it was time to broach what was really on my mind.
If that's all, Your Majesty, I will retire to my quarters for tea.
I did have one more matter to discuss, Grand Duke.
Yes?
I heard that you were at the top of your class at the academy.
Yes, that's true. What about it?
What do you know about magic potions? Grand Duke Bjorn looked at me as if he suspected I was up to no good. I felt humiliated asking such naive questions to someone who clearly disliked me so, although he recommended me as an important trade representative, and he heeded my opinions with care. I could sense how he felt about the non-political side of things.
I know many things about potions. Why do you ask?
Will you take a look at this, if you don't mind? I handed the Grand Duke the small pink bottle and watched him turn it over in his strong hands. He carefully considered its contents. I waited patiently to hear his opinion, but when no words came, I gently nudged for a response. What do you think it might be? It came to me as a birthday gift, and the anonymous note said it was a love potion. The Duke remained silent, seeming to quietly judge both me and the potion. He thought I was foolish, that much was clear. I did my best to regain some self-respect and empathize to him that I didn't plan to use the potion like a child uses a toy. I don't plan to benefit from it, of course, but being that it's a gift, I don't believe it would be right to throw it away. The Grand Duke's expression remained unchanged as he looked up at me skeptically. He lifted the bottle up to his ear and began to shake it. He then opened the bottle and took a long, deep inhale. I looked at him, my mouth slightly agape.
I assure you, Your Majesty, this potion is very effective.
Effective at what, Grand Duke?
Whoever drinks from this bottle will fall in love with the first person they see.
I'm sorry, Grand Duke. This is all so silly. I thought perhaps someone sent me this out of malice, but it appears as though it was instead out of pity.
You can use it on King Aldrich if you wish, but you must make sure that the first person he sees is you.
I was taken aback, but the Grand Duke shrugged as if he hadn't said anything strange. I smiled awkwardly and nodded my head in agreement. It would hurt my pride to try to attract Aldrich's attention this way, and frankly, I didn't know how much I could trust the potion. How much could Duke Bjorn really learn from a simple sniff test anyway? I reached out to take the bottle back, but the Grand Duke pulled it possessively back towards himself.
If you don't believe that it works, I'll prove it to you myself.
Oh, Grand Duke, please, you mustn't.
Don't worry, Your Majesty, I have the antidote.
The antidote? But how? Why would you happen to have an antidote for this particular But before I could finish my sentence, the Grand Duke locked eyes with me and took a gulp of the pink liquid. I stared at him, shocked to my core.
My queen.
I turned to see who beckoned me at such an inconvenient time as this, and saw the king standing before me holding a stack of files. I noticed his face turn into a deep frown. I followed his gaze to see what had evoked this expression. He was staring at the back of the Grand Duke's head. Duke Bjorn must have turned around as soon as he drank the potion, at the risk of feeling the symptoms of love for me, or, even worse, Aldrich.
Grand Duke Bjorn. Hello, Your Majesty. What are you looking at, Bjorn? I stand in the doorway, yet you look towards the shelves? Have you no respect for the king?
I didn't know whether I wanted to laugh or cry. The situation was all just so ridiculous. I made a clumsy attempt to distract Aldrich. What brings you here, Your Majesty? Have you come to deliver those files? Aldrich. But Aldrich wouldn't let the strange situation go that easily. He could tell I was covering for the Duke for some reason. His eyes narrowed and he let out a cruel laugh. He stepped between me and Duke Bjorn. He sneered as he looked back and forth between the Grand Duke and myself.
Why is he hiding his face? Are his lips swollen from kissing the Queen?
Before I could react, Aldrich grabbed the Grand Duke by the shoulder and forced him to turn around. Aldrich, don't! I gasped, and my hands involuntarily covered my face, taken aback by the strange expression on Grand Duke Bjorn's face. Aldrich stumbled backward, nearly toppling me over. He quickly regained his footing and stared at the Duke in shock. I looked on in amazement as the Grand Duke stared at Aldrich with shining eyes. Well, there was no doubt now that the potion worked. The blunt and arrogant, normally brusque-mannered Grand Duke Bjorn, who openly ignored me in my own kingdom, was staring at Aldrich with a misty-eyed expression. Duke Bjorn was in love with Aldrich. The concern on Aldrich's face was readily apparent.
Why is he behaving in such a manner?
It's... A sheepish smile appeared on the Grand Duke's face.
It's good to see you today, Your Majesty. You look handsome today, as always.
Aldrich's face stiffened. He knew something was off with the Grand Duke's behaviour. After staring at each other for another moment, Aldrich quickly handed the files over to him.
I don't know what you're playing at, but control yourself.
And with that, the king hurriedly left the room. The Grand Duke and I stood in silence until we finally heard Aldrich's footsteps fade away. I looked at him, dumbfounded. He remained still, though his face was a deep shade of red. Are you all right, Duke Bjorn? I approached him gingerly, but he held out his hand to stop me.
Stay away!
I apologize, Grand Duke. I'm not sure how to help. He looked at me, eyes seething. Could it be because I was the wife of the man he loved? If I weren't so concerned for his health, I might have laughed at the thought of the Grand Duke becoming Aldrich's second concubine. Are you angry with me? Or are you jealous? He began to tremble, and his eyes seemed to shine. Not with fear or anger, but perhaps with excitement. Grand Duke?
Please, call me Bjorn.
Of course. As you wish, Bjorn.
Damn it! Damn it all!
What's happening?
The potion was more effective than I thought. I love you, Your Majesty. I love you to the point where I'm willing to risk a strange misunderstanding with your husband in order to protect you. At least, that's how it feels.
Pardon me?
When I look at you, all I see are your lips, your neck, and your eyes. Your beautiful eyes. And when I breathe, I wonder what fragrance is lucky enough to perfume your delicate skin. It's wonderful.
I stood in absolute shock as the Grand Duke attempted to stem the babbling flowing from his mouth. He closed his eyes and pressed his fingers to his temples before continuing.
Please leave, Your Majesty. If I don't smell you, I'll be fine soon. Then I can go back to my room and take the antidote.
He clenched his fists and sweat beaded on his tanned skin. I nodded and made my way to the door quickly. But then I realized I might as well use my high standing in the Grand Duke's eyes to my advantage. Grand Duke, before I go, how did you know to bring this antidote? He looked back up at me, and the look of pain in his face was unmistakable.
I knew to bring it because I knew you would be receiving the potion.
You knew? So does that mean...
Yes, Your Majesty. The gift was from me. I sent you the love potion.
As I stared into my vanity mirror, I absent-mindedly brushed my hair and waited for Countess Eliza to return. I was anxious to hear the news regarding the errand I had sent her on. As if on cue, she entered my room. Your Majesty. Eliza, I've been eagerly awaiting your return. What did you learn? I went to Grand Duke Bjorn's quarters as you requested. Excellent. And what did you find out? Well, Your Majesty. To my surprise, Grand Duke Bjorn entered behind Eliza. He looked somewhat different than yesterday. He usually wore comfortable, practical clothes, but today he was dressed in his finest attire. His hair was meticulously combed back, emphasizing his strong jawline. If I had not noticed the moistness in his eyes, I might have told him that he looked handsome on this fine morning. Grand Duke Bjorn, are you feeling quite all right? I felt as though my question about his well-being was in vain, considering that he still appeared to be under the influence of the love potion. But I did not want to be impolite. He was still a guest of the kingdom, after all. He shook his head.
Good day, Your Majesty. May we speak in private?
Eliza, would you be so kind as to leave the Grand Duke and myself in solitude so that we may discuss sensitive matters? Of course, Your Majesty. The Grand Duke took a big step towards me, and the look in his eyes appeared even more desperate.
I have missed you, Your Majesty. I was dying to see you.
He immediately followed these words with an awkward smile. Still, he seemed more in control than yesterday. Grand Duke, please sit down. I bent down so that our eyes were level with each other, hoping that the increased focus of the conversation might help him come to his senses. Did you choose not to take the antidote? As he looked back at me, I realized I had never seen human eyes fill with such affection. I worried for him greatly, especially because he was obligated to continue meeting with me for our diplomatic negotiations.
I consumed the antidote, but it appears that it didn't work. I did not expect the potion to be this powerful.
Could you try another? Perhaps you took the wrong kind. The Grand Duke clasped his hands together and stared out the window longingly. Would it be easier if I were to cover my face?
That will do nothing to diminish how I feel. It will just deprive me of your elegant features.
He looked sadly into his lap. I could not imagine the type of anguish he was experiencing, and I would not wish it upon even my greatest adversary. Grand Duke Bjorn, may I ask, why? Why did you send me the love potion?
Because I was frustrated. It was so frustrating, my queen.
Frustrating? What do you mean, Duke Bjorn?
Do you not remember our interactions until this point? What have I seemed frustrated about?
I racked my brain. I imagine you did not intend to use it in the manner that it has been used. Is this about Aldrich, Miss Rose, and myself? I remember the comment you made to me about how things would be handled in red. The Grand Duke's shoulders slumped.
I know now that it was foolish, but I don't like to see a regal, powerful woman such as yourself struggling.
So was the love potion a consolation of sorts? I still don't understand what your intent was, Grand Duke. An embarrassed silence cloaked the room, punctuated only by the unusually loud clicking of the clock.
I speak with the utmost sincerity when I tell you that my words contain no falsehoods. I speak only the truth. I believe that you and only you deserve the affections of the king, of your husband. I should not keep further company with you. I feel as though I am in love and I should speak no further.
I understand, Duke Bjorn. Shall I show you out? Just as he was about to leave, the Grand Duke turned back towards me.
May I hold you?
I apologize, sir, but in your condition, I feel it would be unwise.
I understand. No matter.
An oppressive silence reigned. When I swallowed, it felt like needles were traveling down my throat. The look in his eyes was not indifference, pity, or any of the condescending looks I had come to know from him. It wasn't even anxiety. As if he knew I was analyzing his gaze, he raised his hand to cover his eyelids.
I will be going now. We should not meet again until the effects disappear on their own.
That sounds like an excellent plan, Grand Duke. I was left stunned from the wildness in his dark gaze and his tormented words. Something my dear lady-in-waiting Laura had said to me once drifted to the forefront of my mind. I spoke the words again to myself. Love someone who can love you back with the intensity of a man starved for 100 years. How could it be that the only man who has ever looked at me like that was the Grand Duke Bjorn? And what did it mean for my future? The future of the kingdom? The future of the world? Do you ever wish for a more pleasant news? Perhaps a baby to bless? I addressed the king in a familiar manner, referring to the audience we had just taken with the common folk of Elisaria. It was painful to hear of the struggles our people were facing, especially when all we could do in many instances was offer our condolences. My heart breaks in sympathy for our people, yet I find myself distracted by my own struggles, and for that I feel guilt. The king gave no response as he sat beside me. I rose from my throne. You must excuse me, Your Majesty. My daily duties are near completion, and I very much wish to draw a bath. Aldrich scowled.
Is your little game over?
Pardon me.
I must give credit where credit is due. I can say with honesty that you and Grand Duke Bjorn did deceive me.
What do you speak of, King? Speak plainly.
I know the Grand Duke wanted me to believe that he was red in the face from looking at me. But he was looking at you, wasn't he, Your Majesty?
I saw the disgust in Aldrich's eyes, and he chose to let this one go. After all, our people were still on their way out of the palace, and I could not risk our reputations any further. I bowed politely and made my way towards the exit, all the while feeling Aldrich's intense gaze on the back of my head. As I reached the door, I felt a soothing presence beside me. Prince Henry stood nearby, leaning against a pillar, as if waiting for me. When our eyes met, he smiled. With a wave of his hand, he revealed that he was holding a stack of documents.
Would it be all right if we discussed an important matter alone?
Of course, Prince Henry. As I left the throne room, hand on the prince's arm, I couldn't resist the urge to turn around. Sure enough, Aldrich was still watching. I suspected that it wasn't just disgust or judgment in his expression. I knew enough about men to be sure there was jealousy in his eyes as well. Prince Henry and I fell into step together as we began a stroll through the grounds. What do you want to show me, Prince? I reached for the documents in his hand. He pulled them out of reach of my fingertips with a small laugh. Stop fooling around, Prince Henry. What do you have for me? He opened the folder to show me the contents of what he was holding. All I saw were blank papers. I looked up at him in surprise, and he smiled apologetically.
I apologize. I thought it would appear more diplomatic if a passerby thought I had a political matter to discuss with you.
We are friends, Prince Henry. There is no reason to hide this from passers-by, or even from the king.
I apologize, Your Majesty. I hope I did not offend you.
I gave him a sideways glance. His expression was soft, and his violet eyes were lit with an unusual warmth. I handed the documents back to him awkwardly. He took them from my hands without breaking our gaze. So you have nothing to discuss then? Just craving the pleasure of my company? Our arms grazed each other, and I wondered if he felt the same electricity from our touch that I did, in other places.
I'm afraid I do have a matter to discuss. I received another letter from my brother. His health is rapidly declining. His doctors are extremely worried.
My feet had ceased moving before I even realized I was standing still. That is serious news indeed. I'm sorry to hear this, Prince Henry, both for you and your family. And I understand this may mean it necessary for you to return home. If that is true, I will miss you. The prince's brow furrowed, and he turned his attention to the ground, where he kicked some stones.
I fear losing your companionship.
He gave me a wary smile, and took a step closer. At the thought of his impending departure, I felt prepared to let him kiss me. But just then I heard an all-too-familiar voice behind me.
Your Majesty.
I turned, and Grand Duke Bjorn stood before me. I feared that Prince Henry might misunderstand our relationship, given that he must still be under the potion's influence.
I came out here to cool off.
Prince Henry looked between me and the Grand Duke, and sensed a strange tension between us. He led me away gently by the arm.
Let us continue our stroll. There is more to discuss.
I nodded in agreement, and turned to follow the path we had begun. But Grand Duke Bjorn was not prepared to let us slip away so easily.
Leave her.
The two men squared off with each other. The atmosphere between them was so tense that I was terrified to intervene.
Now, Grand Duke, it appears you have some more cooling off to do. Leave the Queen in peace. It is time for the Queen to come with me. I suggest that you leave us at once, Prince Henry.
Grand Duke Bjorn, Prince Henry, stop it, I beg you. I almost choked on my words. I was afraid that at this rate, Duke Bjorn was about to reveal that he loved me. Just as I thought the situation was about to calm down, Prince Henry took a step forward and shoved the Grand Duke with all his might. I watched Grand Duke Bjorn stumble backwards and struggle to regain his balance after being shoved by Prince Henry. I had heard unflattering rumors about the prince, but until this moment I had only been exposed to the gentle side of his personality. He looked like he'd been taken over by another being. A malicious smile overtook his face, and in that moment I knew a full-blown fight was inevitable. Just when I began to brace myself to witness further impact, an unlikely savior came to the rescue.
Your Highness! Your Highness! Haxon, what calls for such urgency?
The terrifying expression on the prince's face was now replaced with extreme worry.
It's your brother, Your Highness. It's urgent that you return to your quarters at once.
I expected the prince to hurry off, but instead he looked at me with deep regret in his eyes and knelt down at my feet. He lightly kissed the back of my hand, keeping his eyes fixed on me the entire time. My heart fluttered, and Haxon shifted awkwardly.
We shall speak later. Please excuse me, Your Majesty.
As soon as Henry and Haxon had gone, Duke Bjorn turned his moist eyes back to me.
You enjoy that man's company?
I do. I consider him to be a great man. Your expression tells me that this news is unwelcome. Are you jealous?
Was that not clear when I was at his throat earlier? Have you ever felt the pain of jealousy, Your Majesty?
I considered the last few months of my queenhood. Having to sit back and watch while my husband indulged his most carnal instincts and impulses with Rose. Was that jealousy? Perhaps.
You admit it too easily.
Were you not the one who was so frustrated on my behalf that you gave me a love potion?
It is a strong potion indeed.
When will the effects wear off? Our attention was drawn to the shrubbery behind us when we heard someone covertly approaching. I looked at the Grand Duke fearfully. Aldrich. As if the Grand Duke knew what I was thinking, he addressed my worries head-on.
Do not fear, Your Majesty. He was not close enough to hear our conversation.
Hello, Aldrich.
So, which one is it, Bronwyn?
Pardon me, Your Majesty.
Grand Duke Bjorn or Prince Henry? Which one?
I do not understand your meaning. Please, Aldrich, enough with the games. It would benefit us both if you could state your point more plainly.
I know you have an attraction for the foreign prince, but the Grand Duke as well. You must be very pleased with your situation.
You do not know of what you speak. Not one bit.
Would it be so difficult for you to control your behavior during a time such as this one?
And what time is that, Aldrich?
We are awaiting the birth of the king's first child. Is now the time to stir up sexual scandals with foreigners?
For a man who is in love and expecting a child, you certainly do get carried away with these fantasies of my potential escapades. I do my best not to involve myself in your affairs with a woman you found in the woods. Could you please return the favor and pay me the decency of remaining uninvolved in my friendships, regardless of whatever desires you believe me to be chasing?
You know as well as I do that a scandal with another man would cause salacious gossip about our royal family. There is no dignity involved in that.
Are you implying that I must adjust my behavior for the benefit of your first child?
A child of the royal family is your child as well.
No, Aldrich. Whether there are 100 or 1,000 of them, your concubine's baby is not my baby, nor will it ever be.
Careful, Bronwyn.
And you know as well that no child of hers will be a prince or princess.
And this standing means they're not a member of the royal family?
Precisely, according to the law.
No matter how much you hate Rose, I am deeply shocked that you would transfer your hatred to a child. You are truly selfish, Bronwyn.
Before I could respond to his hurtful words, a sudden burst of action unfolded. Out of nowhere, a powerful fist struck Aldrich across the cheek. I quickly realized that the hands belonged to Grand Duke Bjorn. The impact echoed through the tense air. Aldrich staggered backward, shaken by the unexpected blow. However, he quickly regained his balance, utilizing the momentum of his retreat to launch a retaliatory assault. Like a charging bull, he hurled his large body at the Grand Duke, aiming to deliver a punishing blow to his head. In a split second, the Grand Duke, demonstrating an agility that defied his imposing stature, skillfully evaded Aldrich's incoming strike. Desperation fueled me, and I attempted to intervene physically, stepping between the two adversaries. I knew that Aldrich, with his immense strength, could easily overpower the Grand Duke. However, my efforts to mediate were in vain, as the clash of titans continued unabated. Please stop it, both of you. The intensity of the confrontation heightened, a brutal dance of power and pride. The surrounding knights stood ready, their hands gripping the hilts of their swords, uncertain of when they might need to intervene. The garden, once a place of tranquility, now bore witness to a clash that could reshape the fate of the kingdom and beyond. The knights rushed to form a protective barrier around the king and the Grand Duke. Aldrich's knights unsheathed their swords, the gleaming blades pointing menacingly at Grand Duke Bjorn.
You needn't point those at me. My power cannot be contained by your earthly weapons.
The Grand Duke's eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity as he raised his hand. The air crackled with an eerie energy, and the atmosphere seemed to thicken. A surge of blinding white light shot from the Grand Duke's palm, ascending into the evening sky like a celestial beacon. The garden was momentarily bathed in an ethereal glow, as the magical energy danced around him.
By the gods, what sorcery is this?
The knights exchanged uneasy glances, realizing that the unfolding confrontation had escalated into a clash of forces beyond their understanding.
Stand down, men. So, you have a heart for Queen Bronwyn, it appears.
And you do not, it appears.
What did you dare say to me about my wife?
Do you think it is common to ask a queen to protect the political standing of a baby born from an affair?
An affair? Rose is the official concubine.
The Grand Duke sneered at Aldrich, and the magical energy surrounding him pulsed with an intensity that seemed to echo the tension in the air.
I do not know what you're up to, Bjorn, but I do not trust a man driven by such emotion. To spare your reputation, I will not imprison you. But I must rethink my deal with Rhett.
With those words, Aldrich and his knights retreated. The lingering magical aura around Grand Duke Bjorn slowly dissipated, returning the garden's atmosphere to its normal, quiet state.
What has happened, Haxon? Haxon gently handed an envelope to Prince Henry, which the prince opened slowly, fearing what he would learn from its contents.
It is as I suspected. My own brother, Wharton, is in failing health.
Are you all right, Henry?
I have a headache.
I fear it is time for you to return home. I know you and Wharton are not especially close, but you would have to be unfeeling to have no reaction to this news.
You are right, cousin. And this family matter affects you as well.
Indeed. Shall I share this unfortunate news with King Aldrich? I can inform him that you are returning to the Celestial Isles.
I will do it myself.
Very well. And your letter, friend? The Queen?
Prince Henry slightly raised his head and stared vacantly into space.
Then he turned to Haxon. Sensing that Henry's mind was in turmoil, the knight spoke to him softly. I can see that you are troubled, my prince, but do not worry. You will make it to your brother in time.
That's not it, Haxon. What are the odds that I marry her?
Pardon me?
Bronwyn. She must be mine.
The odds, my prince, are slim, and as uncertain as the twists of fate. But love has a way of defying the odds.
Prince Henry, lost in thought, contemplated the gravity of the situation. He looked at the letter in his hand, a mixture of concern and determination etched on his face. I cannot let Wharton face this alone. I must return.
As the two men shared a moment of understanding, thunder rumbled in the distance, echoing the uncertainty that loomed over the kingdom.
The next morning, rumours about the heated exchange between the king and Grand Duke Bjorn had already spread throughout the palace. As soon as I rose from my bed, my ladies-in-waiting immediately bombarded me with questions about what took place. I gave them only curt replies and got dressed quickly. Despite my exhaustion, my inability to stomach any substantial food, and my anxiety about what the future held, I knew I must have a discussion with Aldrich before my busy day began. I made my way over to the Eastern Palace and arrived at his chamber door.
Well, well, the Queen has decided to visit me this time. This is a surprise.
I'm glad to see that you appear calmer than you were yesterday, Aldrich. The king was dressed for the day and looking at his appearance in the mirror. Our eyes met in the looking-glass, and he gave me a quiet smile as he fixed a silver button on his coat. I longed for the times when things were simpler between us, and immediately hated myself for it. I have a matter to discuss with you, Your Majesty.
That much I figured. You only pay me mind when there is a matter at hand.
His voice sounded mischievous. I shuffled uncomfortably as I felt the eyes of his servants watching us. I did not want any more rumours spreading about me. In my fraught condition, I was unsure I would be able to take it. As if reading my mind, Aldrich waved his hand towards the servants who were helping him dress.
Leave us be.
Alone with Aldrich in his bedroom, I did my best to separate my head from my heart. I tried to ignore the manly scent of his musk and the oaky odour of the leather chair that had seen some of mine and Aldrich's more adventurous escapades. My body had not yet caught up to my mind, which had mostly learned to disregard Aldrich.
So, what is it, Bronwyn?
Are you really going to reconsider our dealings with Red?
I don't know yet. Why do you ask?
I'm in charge of diplomatic relations with Red, so it concerns me greatly. Aldrich narrowed his eyes at me.
And I imagine you have come to convince me to move ahead with the deal.
You are correct, Aldrich. The king grabbed a comb off of his dresser and attempted to fix his own hair. Whatever shape he was trying to convince his thick locks to take, he was unsuccessful. He set the comb back down and frowned deeply. You must consider the benefits our kingdom will gain from trading with Red. Aldrich began attempting to smooth his hair with his hands.
And what makes you think we will benefit from this relationship?
I have researched the topic thoroughly. The trades we could make with Red would satisfy both the common people and the nobility. If there is a flow of supply, these foreign and exotic items would become more affordable to all who inhabit our land.
And the profit will offset the cost.
We will make it so. We looked at each other, and Aldrich absent-mindedly tugged at his hair. I rolled my eyes, and almost involuntarily took a step closer to him, taking the comb from the dresser to fix his hair myself. As I ran the comb through his hair, it began to take shape the way I knew he liked it. His hair felt thick, yet soft and clean. I let my fingers run through it, grazing my nails softly against his scalp.
Oh, that's delightful, Bronwyn.
As he breathed out softly, the heat and scent of his fresh breath felt like an aphrodisiac. My heart began to race, and the parts that had long gone ignored underneath my clothing began to tingle, as if being stimulated after lying dormant for so long. Before I lost myself to my primal desires, I set the comb back down and stood back near the door, a silent reminder that I would soon be leaving.
You know, Bronwyn, after I was hit yesterday, you did not even care to ask me if I was all right.
You look fine to me, Aldrich.
I am not sure.
Are you all right?
That's not what I meant. I am not sure about the deal with Rhett.
I see. I can have the finance ministers draw up a budget to ease your anxieties about the financial risks the kingdom is taking.
That is not what concerns me.
What is eating at you then, Aldrich? I am thoroughly bewildered.
Is it profit and gains that you want for our empire? Or love?
Aldrich, please. This time, it was Aldrich who took a step towards me. His dark eyes were filled with a complicated emotion. I could see myself reflected in them, my own face appearing deceptively calm. I really was getting good at hiding how I felt, and for a brief moment I felt as though I had the upper hand in this twisted game of hearts Aldrich and I were playing.
Which is it, Bronwyn?
He slowly lifted his hand and tucked a stray strand of hair behind my ear. I broke our gaze. You misunderstand me. I seek the success of Elisaria and nothing more. But even if I were after love, well...
Yes?
I find it a bit funny.
Funny?
Yes, Aldrich. You proudly show off your concubine at parties. You do things with her in public that are usually reserved private moments. So why are you obsessed with my love affairs? The ones you fantasize about me having, that is. I had successfully ended the tender moment, and Aldrich snapped. He smashed his hand on the table next to me.
How could you say that? You are the queen! A concubine is just a concubine!
Just a concubine?
Rose was crouching outside of Aldrich's room with her ear against the door. Her curiosity had been piqued when she saw the queen enter his quarters. The guards standing in front of the door exchanged awkward glances, and Rose bit her lip. She stared at the door, eyes brimming with tears, and then turned on her heel and returned to her room.
Rothescue was right. No matter how much Aldrich loves me, I'm still a concubine. My position depends on the fickle emotions of one man. Lady Verdi. Yes, Miss Rose. Among all of the previous royal concubines, has any of them ever been loved by the king until death?
Rose looked at Viscountess Verdi hopefully. Lately, she had avoided exchanging words with her lady-in-waiting altogether. However, the Viscountess seemed familiar with these matters, and Rose could not live without this information. The way the Viscountess averted her eyes with a troubled look gave Rose the answer she needed.
So, no then, it is not completely unheard of, but it is not common. That is correct, Miss Rose. Don't worry, Miss Rose. Even if you fall out of the king's favour, as long as you have a child, you will not be cut off from the royal family. This baby will be your strength. I want a baby that I can love and care for. I don't intend to use my own child in that way. Miss Rose, Viscount Rothescue is here. Thank you, Cheryl. Send him in. The rest of you, please leave us be. I need to speak to Viscount Rothescue alone. Yes, my lady.
Good day, my dear.
Why are you here?
Rose did not bother hiding her contempt, but the Viscount seemed wholly unperturbed. I wanted to let you know I am thinking of moving.
So?
I need a house, Rose.
I see. How much do you need this time?
Rose was relieved as she thought about the money Duke Elegy lent her. 10,000 crowns was a large sum. 500,000 crowns will do.
Pardon me? You must be joking, Viscount Rothescue. What kind of house is that expensive?
One with a garden and plenty of room for my grandchild to play.
You would bring the child here?
You mean your child? My grandchild? But of course. Rose's hands began shaking. She was trembling out of both fear and rage. The Viscount arched his eyebrow at her. I cannot leave the little one alone in the country, can I, my dear Rose? Do you consider it wasteful to spend money on your own child? He looked at her and smiled like a leech.
No matter how hard I tried, I found it impossible to understand Aldrich. He doesn't love me, so why on earth does he act so jealous? My head felt dizzy. My chest was tight and I began to feel sick to my stomach. I took a stroll around the garden, hoping the fresh air would relieve me of these symptoms. I remembered the spot where Prince Henry had left in such a hurry, and I found myself involuntarily walking towards that spot. On my way there, I spotted Rose in the corridor across the way. She did not notice me in her hurry, and she looked quite pale. She approached the door to someone's room, and a moment later it opened. It was Duke Elegy. As she entered his room, his eyes met mine. He gave me a grin that I did not trust. Before I could think too much about it, I ran into the exact person I was seeking.
Hello, Your Majesty.
Prince Henry, we always manage to find each other somehow.
Indeed. May I walk with you?
Please.
You may have guessed, but my brother's condition is grave. I must return to the Celestial Isles.
I see. I was prepared for this, my friend. Nevertheless, sadness rises in my heart. But your brother's life and the well-being of your kingdom are of the utmost importance. I began to shiver as the air suddenly turned cold. I felt something warm and delicious smelling envelop me. Henry had given me his coat.
Can we keep exchanging letters?
Of course. Although I am sad that I will not be able to see you, it pleases me that at least I'll be able to see Majesty.
I am sorry, Majesty, but Majesty may be busy.
Oh. Well, that is truly a disappointment. I believe I'm so comforted by Majesty because he reminds me of you. This coat smells like him. It is almost as if you are one and the same. I had never seen a look quite like the one Henry gave me then. It looked like he had a secret that was longing to escape his lips.
Prince Henry, having parted ways with the Queen, sought an audience with King Aldrich. The halls of the palace echoed with the muted footsteps of his purposeful stride. Upon entering Aldrich's chamber, the air was thick with tension. "Prince Henry, I hear you've decided to return to the Celestial Isles." The prince remained silent for a moment, weighing his words. "That is true. My brother is in poor health." "It pains me to hear that. I send wishes for his speedy recovery." "I'm afraid that his recovery is unlikely." "I see. And who will ascend if he takes a turn for the worse?" "That will be as my brother wishes." Aldrich briefly considered the implications if Prince Henry ascended the throne. "I hope it is known we are a friend to the Celestial Isles, and that we would be willing to help in any way that is needed." "Thank you, Your Majesty. That is very kind. The stay here has been most hospitable." Aldrich sensed a slight beneath Henry's polite words. Was he referring to Bronwyn? The atmosphere in the room grew taut, like a bowstring pulled to its limit. The two men, each a master of their own realm, shared a look that spoke volumes in the silence that stretched between them. The unspoken rivalry between them was evident. After a moment, Aldrich's lips curled into a smile, though it failed to reach his eyes. "I assume that Grand Duke Elegy will be returning with you." "That is for him to decide, Your Majesty." "Very well." The need for diplomacy shaded what could have been a more hostile exit. With this, Prince Henry turned to leave. Later, Prince Henry sought out Duke Elegy, but upon reaching his chamber, he discovered he was not alone. A woman's voice, familiar and yet distant, filtered through the door.
"He is a man of touch, like this. A light stroke on his hand, a whisper in his ear."
"I don't know where you have learned these things, but I see how the king would risk the queen for you."
"Those flames have dimmed to coals. The king finds it essential to keep the flames roaring. He finds the heat captivating, hypnotizing even."
"If I didn't know better, it would seem as if there was room at the fire for more than one."
"For those who offer as much as you, there is much to take. I do express my gratitude, and will continue."
"And I will continue to be there as you need."
Curiosity piqued, Prince Henry concealed himself behind a pillar, waiting for the opportune moment to approach. Soon, the door to the Duke's room opened, and Rose emerged, her steps light but laden with unspoken words. Once the echo of her footsteps faded, Prince Henry emerged from his hiding place. He approached Duke Elegy, who greeted him with a smile, unfazed by his sudden appearance.
"Oh, Henry, you're always hiding here and there. Is that a stroke of envy I see?" "So perceptive of you, Duke, and how thoughtful of you to be there, as you are for the king's concubine. I came here on another matter, though."
"Ah, yes, I hear you are returning home."
"I am, but this is about something else."
"Well then, would you come in for some tea?"
Prince Henry, instead of responding, stepped into Elegy's chambers and closed the door behind him.
When dawn broke the next day, Sir Artemis, ever the bearer of grave tidings, came to me.
"Good morning, Your Majesty. I've come to inform you that Prince Henry has left for the Celestial Isles."
"I see. I had bid him farewell yesterday, but had I known it would be our last meeting, my words would have carried more weight, more sentiment. I had thought there would be another day, another chance.
I'm sure there will be many more opportunities, Your Majesty.
I hoped that Sir Artemis was right. My relationship with Henry, though it started under strange circumstances, had blossomed into a genuine friendship. I should have told him that. But it wasn't just Prince Henry who left a void. Later that day, as I ventured to the central palace, a cloak of melancholy enshrouded me. My work seemed trivial. The conversations felt empty. By lunch, I retreated to the Western Palace, seeking solace among my ladies-in-waiting. As we gathered in the dining room, my Lady Laura informed me of another unexpected piece of news. Your Majesty, Duchess Betha is leaving the capital. Leaving the capital? Is it because of the divorce? Yes, Your Majesty. The judge ruled in favor of Duke Betha because of Viscount Langdale. Then, in my efforts to save Viscount Langdale, I must have inadvertently harmed Duchess Betha's position. It pains me so to hear this, Laura. Oh, no, Your Majesty. You needn't be sad. Duchess Betha wanted to thank you. She asked me to deliver this to you. Lady Laura produced a sealed envelope from her inner pocket. A letter from the Duchess. Thank you, Laura. I will read it later. After my companions had departed, I unfolded the letter. Duchess Betha's words were a balm to my troubled heart. I know what you did for Viscount Langdale, Your Majesty. Thank you for doing me this kindness. I know you'll blame yourself, so I'm leaving you this letter. I've decided to follow Viscount Langdale. He tried to give his life for me, and now I want to be with him. It would have been best if all of this didn't happen at all, but I trust that things happen for a reason. In the future, if you're in any difficulty, I will surely repay you. Please burn this letter after reading it. I looked at the letter for a long moment, then lit a candle and watched as the flames consumed her words. The letter burned slowly at first, then the flame rapidly devoured the paper. Finally, all that was left was a small scrap between my fingers. I set it down on the table and extinguished the candle. Prince Henry, Majesty, and now Duchess Betha. 3 souls who had touched my life were gone. 2 had journeyed far, and one's destination was unknown. That night, a deep melancholy settled over me. I waited for Majesty to tap at my window with his beak, but the night remained silent. I opened the window, and a cold wind blew in, raising gooseflesh on my skin.
Aren't you cold, Your Majesty?
I heard Prince Henry's voice in the wind, a ghostly echo of yesterday. I left my window open, curling into my blanket, seeking warmth in the memories and whispers of the past. The following morning, there was no sign of Majesty. The emptiness was palpable, a void where once there had been life and laughter. Countess Eliza, ever attentive to my needs, rushed to my side with concern etched on her face. Oh, no, you must have caught a cold, Your Majesty. I suppose I've done this to myself. It was chilly last night when I left the window ajar. Shall I cancel today's schedule? Yes, and call the palace doctor, please. I need to be at my best right now, not weakened by a cold. I yearned for the warmth and comfort of a thick dress, devoid of the heavy ornaments of royalty. As Eliza hastened to summon the palace doctor, Laura assisted me into my warm attire. The fabric enveloped me, a cocoon against the chill. Soon after, Laura brought a steaming bowl of broth, and I dined alone, the quiet of the room amplifying my thoughts. Half an hour later, Eliza returned with the palace doctor.
This appears to be just a mild cold, Your Majesty. I'm going to suggest you take some bed rest and take this medication. It will ease your symptoms.
Thank you, Dr. Unrick. I complied, and soon felt the medicine's warmth spread through me. I drifted off into a restful slumber. Upon waking, the room was awash in midday light. I rose, drawn to the closed window, hoping perhaps Majesty would visit in my slumber. But as I reached for the latch, Eliza entered with a towel and basin, her eyes widening in disapproval. "You can't leave the windows open, Your Majesty. Those are the doctor's orders." "As long as I'm in the room and awake, it'll be fine." "Is it because you're waiting for Majesty?" "Yes, I am. He would give me so much comfort right now." "Not to worry, Your Majesty. I'll stay on the lookout and open the window if he comes." I watched Eliza, her movements graceful and caring, as she dipped a towel in the hot water, wringing it out before using it to warm my hands and feet. Her touch was soothing, a comfort in my state of vulnerability. "Please get well soon, Your Majesty." "I will. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. On my way to retrieve Dr. Enric, I heard that Lord Oscar will soon arrive in the capital." "My eldest brother is arriving here." "Yes, aren't you happy?" "Yes, Eliza, I am happy to see my brother, of course. But he is a spirited soul, sometimes too spirited. His presence can be both a blessing and a curse. He's fiercely loyal, but often finds himself in conflict, which usually leads to violence. When I became queen, my father, fearing that Oscar's impulsive nature might tarnish my reputation, had sent him to an outer region." "Is Oscar aware of Rose's condition?" "I pray he isn't. And when he finds out, I hope I'll be there to cool the flames that will undoubtedly flare." "I hope so too, Your Majesty. But there is one more thing." "Yes?" "King Aldrich, ever the master of timing, has chosen this moment to announce a grand banquet, celebrating the impending arrival of his first child." "Then I must get myself ready." "You mustn't go, not in your condition. You are unwell, Your Majesty. Please listen to the doctor." Attending a banquet was a vastly different obligation from a large ball. However, I knew that my absence at a celebration for Aldrich's child could be misconstrued as a personal slight against him. "I assure you, Eliza, the thought of smiling through a celebration of the illegitimate child of Rose and the King, all while enduring the curious, sometimes pitying glances of the court, is almost unbearable. Yet the banquet is imminent, and my role as queen demands my presence." The day after the banquet was announced, I moved through the palace like a ghost, eager to avoid meeting anyone. Eventually, I sought refuge on a secluded bench, a haven where I could momentarily escape and suppress the mounting anger within me. Aldrich himself had wisely chosen to embark on an inspection trip to another province, leaving me to stew in my unrest. In his absence, my resentment had grown, fueling the loneliness of the empty palace and the shadow of the upcoming celebration. As I sat there, lost in thought, the sound of approaching footsteps intruded upon my solitude. I didn't want to face a courtier or knight, so I raised my hand to shield my eyes, hoping they would pass. But the footsteps stopped. Reluctantly, I lowered my hand and looked up. It was Aldrich. He stood before me, cloaked in the garb of travel, his hair tousled and his expression marked with a slight frown.
"Hello, Bronwyn. Are you feeling unwell?"
"I'm feeling much better, Aldrich. Thank you for your concern. Have you just arrived?"
"Yes, they're unloading the luggage now. Are you really all right?"
"Yes. Before his arrival, I had imagined all sorts of confrontations, ones much greater than just stepping on his foot in a symbolic act of defiance. Yet now, with him standing before me, the reality of his presence made such thoughts seem trivial and childish. I rose from the bench, smoothing out my dress in an attempt to regain some semblance of dignity.
"Bronwyn, I must ask you, do you disapprove of the banquet to welcome the baby?"
If the baby was ours, I would surely approve. But now, I don't want to attend, but since I have to host it, I'm sure I'll dislike it all the more.
Why must you be so cold? This is a joyful occasion. Do you have no affection at all?
Do you really not see how humiliating this is for me? You know very well that I'd hate to have anything to do with the banquet. But still, you'd have me host.
Do you have any idea why I want you to hold this banquet?
Do I really need to know?
This baby, maybe it can be your baby as well. Our baby. Promise me you won't hate it before it's even born.
I stared at him, incredulous. Why was he saying this? Why would Rose's baby be considered mine? I'm sorry, Aldrich, but what you're asking is too much.
But Bronwyn, we have been married a long time, and we don't yet have a child. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Are you implying that we may never?
I know that we'd both like to produce an heir someday, but the reality is that it may not happen.
So, you want me to be accepting of this baby, so that it could be recognized as a legitimate heir?
I just don't want you to hate a baby who isn't born yet.
No matter who this baby takes after Aldrich, I promise you this, I will not like it. You can tell Rose that her baby will never be a part of the Imperial family.
Aldrich sat in his study, his gaze fixed on the documents strewn across his desk. A pensive air hung about him, his usual regal composure giving way to an uncommon restlessness. Count Perdue, his trusted advisor, glanced up from a report on book distribution. Noticing the king's troubled demeanor, Aldrich, chin propped on his hand, exhaled a heavy sigh that seemed to carry the weight of his worries. I don't like this.
Like what, Your Majesty?
Aldrich hesitated, the internal battle evident in his eyes. Finally, he confided. Rose and the Queen. They are more adversarial by the day. I'm worried the Queen will dislike the child. Or worse.
Your concern makes sense, Your Majesty. Has she expressed these feelings to you?
Yes, she has.
I fear it can't be helped. In rare cases, favored illegitimate children can be a threat to a successor.
Isn't it too early to worry about a successor when we don't even have one yet?
Unfortunately, it's not. You have made a woman pregnant. Without another heir in place, this child would be an obvious choice.
The Queen knows this. Her foresight is impeccable, which is why she's an excellent queen. Aldrich closed his eyes, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. If she harbors ill feelings towards the baby, I fear she might treat it coldly.
It makes sense that you would be deeply concerned about the welfare of your firstborn, yet the complex dynamics at play complicate the matter.
What do you mean, Count?
At the moment, I am more concerned by the sudden arrival of Oscar than the Queen's feelings towards the baby.
Oscar? Here? Has he been permitted to leave Palm?
Duke Troby recently gave his son permission to return. As I'm sure you know, the Queen's older brother has an uncontrollable temper. While I would hope his time at Palm has changed him for the better, I fear that is unlikely. It is rumored that he has had numerous altercations with the Eternal Thousand Bandits, and that he has killed many of them in brutal ways.
Aldrich's expression hardened at the mention of Oscar Troby, the elder brother of Queen Bronwyn. Aldrich had known Oscar since childhood, having been betrothed to Bronwyn from a young age.
Now that his sister is queen, he should be somewhat more restrained than before. I trust she will know how to manage him. You should not worry about this too much, Your Majesty.
I wasn't worried at all before you mentioned this.
My apologies, Your Majesty.
You overestimate the Queen's abilities to control her brother. He listens to no one. If by chance he was unaware of Rose's pregnancy beforehand, he will most certainly find out when he arrives. Make sure Rose is protected at all times.
Yes, Your Majesty, she will be safe. No harm will come to her.
Good. This worrying has caused a throbbing headache. Please fetch the doctor. In the bustling heart of the city, Lord Oscar, the centre of whispered concerns and cautious speculation at the palace, walked through a busy marketplace. Accompanying him was his closest friend, Marquise Faring. Oscar entered a shop with 2 large guards standing by the entrance and approached the one-eyed jeweller behind the counter.
Good sir, how can I help you?
Show me your finest flame diamond. One with the essence of dragon's breath.
Sir, you must be mistaken. All we have are these trinkets in the case you see in front of you.
Do not play with me, jeweller. The ring on your finger says otherwise. You will show me these wares, or I will take this one from you.
The jeweller glanced at one of the large figures guarding the doorway. The guard turned around and reached for Oscar. In a simple motion, Oscar reached for his belt and produced a blade the size of his torso. Keeping his gaze on the jeweller, Oscar spun the blade around, taking the arm off the guard before slamming it down on the counter in front of the jeweller. Before the second guard could react, Oscar's companion, Marquise Faring, had already snapped his neck completely and closed the door to the shop.
Jeweller, this is Oscar Troby. You will show him respect.
The Queen's brother?
Precisely. Do not play me for a fool again.
Yes, my lord. My apologies. Please give me a moment. I usually have my guards help me with this.
The jeweller turned to move a large cabinet behind him. As he struggled with the large piece of furniture, Marquise Faring swiftly kicked it, destroying it entirely. In the place where the cabinet once stood, a door to a hidden room was revealed.
Follow me. These are all of the gems I hold, I swear it. Please, I beg of you, do not leave me with nothing. It took me years and all of the money I have to accumulate these treasures.
Oscar pulled out a bag filled with coins, dropping it at the jeweller's feet.
I am not a petty thief. I will pay you handsomely.
Thank you, my lord. What are you looking for in terms of ability?
Oscar glanced at Faring, then back at the jeweller, replying vaguely.
The Queen needs strength.
But the Queen is one of the strongest women in the land.
Indeed she is. In spirit. I believe what my friend is saying is that she needs a weapon.
I see. Is this by chance about a certain young woman the king has brought back from the woods? I have a collection of toxins here that could likely prove quite useful.
Poison is for rats. I know you possess the essence of dragon's breath. Where is it?
That ring is not for sale.
That ring was used by my uncle to take down the last remaining defense of Rhett's last empire.
You hold no claim.
I'm sorry, my lord. I sacrificed too much for that one.
The jeweller moved his eye patch, showing an empty eye socket.
Now, come, I have others that will suit Her Majesty better.
This is really beginning to bore me, jeweller. If it were up to me, I would take your other eye and have you hear us try these rings on one by one until we find the one we are looking for. You sacrifice too much for a jewel you were never meant to own. This is of your own doing.
The jeweller sighed and reached for an ornate box at the top of a cabinet.
As you wish, my lord. It is here. But the ring will not fit Her Majesty. I have not found a way to resize it.
Oscar opened the box. The red glow from the jewel shone across his face. He picked it up and placed it on his finger. It fit perfectly.
As I said, this is because it is not yours. The ring is a family heirloom and will obey the proper bloodline.
At that moment, 4 armed guards entered the shop. The jeweler pressed the ring on his pinky, and a glowing shield appeared in front of him.
You must return the ring, my lord. I would deeply regret killing the Queen's brother in my shop, but under the circumstances, I'm sure the king will be understanding.
The guards charged at Marquise Faring and Oscar with knives in hand. In a flash, the Marquise grabbed one of the guards' knives out of his hand and plunged it through his skull.
Ah!
Another guard slashed at Oscar with a sword. Oscar grabbed the blade in his hand, turning it around and shoving it back through the man's face. The final 2 armed men attempted to strike together, but Marquise Faring kicked off of the wall and flew across the room. With 3 slices of his long, skinny blade, the guards' torsos were severed from their bodies. The small shop was covered in spurting blood. Oscar looked over at the jeweler and reached down for one of the guards' knives.
That was a grave mistake, jeweler. I could have made you a rich man.
I will not let you take that ring!
The shield from the jeweler's ring faded as he tried to swap it out for a blue ring. The second the shield went down, Oscar threw his knife at the jeweler, piercing his remaining eye.
Purchasing the gift was a nice gesture, but I must say, this type of entrance is more your style. This man was known for trading magic-infused weapons to the Eternal Thousand. His death will be of no consequence.
Marquise Faring gestured to the remaining jewelry now strewn about the shop.
Do we just leave all of this here? Bandits will no doubt take what was his. It would be a shame to let it fall into the wrong hands. We are not those bandits. We will tell the Queen and let her handle it.
And the magic rings?
Those we will take. They are far too dangerous in the hands of bandits. See that they get to the Academy in the Celestial Isles.
Yes, my lord. Oscar, look. There's a letter here with the royal seal. It's from Count Perdue.
I have no interest in the king's affairs.
It says the king's concubine is pregnant.
She's what? Let me see that.
Yes, the letter says the concubine is pregnant and Count Perdue wanted a ring for her protection.
That bastard Aldrich. I will take care of this.
My conversation with Aldrich from the day before haunted my thoughts as I gazed out the window. The morning chill raised goosebumps on my skin, but did little to quell the internal turmoil raging within me. The sound of birds, reminiscent of majesty, only deepened my melancholy. The notion that Aldrich had suggested that we could adopt the child born of his union with Rose, should we fail to conceive, was sickening to me. The very idea of loving and raising a child born of his union with the concubine was inconceivable. My heart recoiled at the thought, and I was certain, deep within, that no matter how much I tried, I would never be able to embrace such a child as my own. Countess Eliza entered and shook me from these troubled thoughts. Your Majesty. Yes, Eliza, what is it? Grand Duke Bjorn is here. He is? How curious. I entered the parlour to find Grand Duke Bjorn standing there, his hat held loosely in one hand. It was our first encounter since the incident where he had struck Aldrich. My eyes glanced down at his hand, half expecting to see signs of injury, but he appeared unharmed.
My hand is fine, Your Majesty. Thank you for your concern.
I'm happy to hear that, Grand Duke Bjorn.
Your Majesty, I'm here because there is something I wish to discuss with you. Something that is of great importance to me.
Of course, Duke Bjorn, but first, tell me, is the potion still influencing you?
I am unsure, Your Majesty, but I believe it is.
Observing him more closely, I could sense the undercurrent of anxiety that seemed to emanate from him. Does the potion usually last this long?
Not usually. This is quite unusual, although there is a chance it is something else. Something that was unseen before.
How could it be unseen? I thought you were the one who created it.
Yes, when I was an academy student, I studied the power of love. It truly is the greatest power in our world. Imagine being able to instill the flames of passion in all you do, to feel that wherever you are, to have access whenever you need. But something has gone wrong. The potion has never worked like this.
And how effective is it usually?
Depending on the dose, hours, days, maybe a week at most, but it's not supposed to last as long as this, and the antidote should have worked. Your Majesty, I am here to tell you that I must leave the Empire.
You are leaving? Grand Duke, I'm sure we can have our doctors help with your ailment. We will find the cure for this.
Your Majesty, there is no cure for this.
My eyes began to shed tears. I was not as close to Duke Bjorn as I was with Prince Henry, Majesty, or Duchess Betha, but my heart was heavy with the repeated departures of those I held close. What about the trade and diplomatic relations between our kingdoms? All of that is still in play. If you leave now...
Your Majesty, the king doesn't want any of that anymore.
Diplomatic relations are my responsibility. The decision is not up to him.
As long as it's related to state affairs, you know you cannot make deals without the king's approval.
I have worked so hard for this. My position was to establish diplomatic relations with Ret, and now all of our efforts are crumbling away as though they were sandcastles. Please, don't take Aldrich's reactions into consideration. Not now.
Your Majesty, I don't mean to upset you.
Of course I'm upset.
But you don't understand. The potion has only revealed a deep-rooted truth. My feelings for you cloud my rationality.
Grand Duke, I am flattered, truly. You are a wonderful man, but I am the Queen. Our diplomatic relationship must remain the priority for me.
I understand. Since I cannot create an alliance here, I need to look into relationships with other states. It does not matter which one.
I see. While this pains me greatly, I understand your decision. I will be here if you decide otherwise.
Thank you, Your Majesty. Before I go, may I propose a path toward building on what we've accomplished?
Yes, please tell me. I remain open to any options. The Grand Duke stepped towards me. He bent down on his knee and held my hand in his. Giving it a soft kiss, he whispered,
"Come with me."
"No, Duke Bjorn, I will not come with you." I shook my head as I processed what Grand Duke Bjorn had just proposed to me. I nearly laughed. But when I looked into his eyes, the outburst died on my lips. They were brimming with heartbreak. Potion or not, this moment was one of great intensity for the Grand Duke, and the feeling of regret welled up in me.
Please, Your Majesty.
Think rationally. You are doing this because of the potion.
You are right, Your Majesty.
Are you, Grand Duke? I am not so sure this is true.
Regardless, Your Majesty, these are just my emotions. You are within your rights to reject them.
I promise that you will laugh about this when the potion wears off.
How can you be sure anything will change when the effects wane?
I can see it so clearly now. You are incredible. Those who cannot see this are the ones under a spell.
Seeing that my consolation was barely affecting the lovelorn man, I attempted to lighten the mood with a memory I foolishly assumed we shared. Do you not recall your coldness towards me when we first became acquainted? You did not even like me at first.
I was angry, Your Majesty. I could not look at you while I saw what they were doing to you.
Grand Duke Bjorn, I understand your frustration, but I must assure you, the burden of the crown is one I am equipped to bear.
What are you saying, Your Majesty?
I admit that it is painful to watch Aldrich love another woman, to father children with her, to rebuke me so coldly. But I am the queen. I have lived my whole life preparing for the position I now hold. This is not just my reality. It was always my dream to serve this wonderful kingdom. I do not want to lose my dream simply because of the suffering a wife must face due to her husband.
Then, what if he asks you for a divorce?
He will not.
It is true that your character as queen is strong, but without your title, I fear you will crumble.
Aldrich is not a fool, and neither am I for that matter.
The king made it clear that he was a fool the moment he turned away from you.
I expected the Grand Duke to have more to say, but the request he gave me shocked me more than anything I had heard thus far.
Before I go, would it be all right if we shared an embrace?
Although I knew the context was inappropriate, it was relatively common for nobles to share a brief hug, so I stepped forward as a means to give the Grand Duke permission at the risk of being rude. He also stepped forward and pulled me in. But this was not the hug I expected. It was not a simple embrace. Where had the Duke's calm and heavy attitude gone? His strong hands gripped my waist with impatience and intensity. He fingered the seams of my gown and buried his face into my neck with a gracefulness that was also charged with emotion. His skin was hot and pulsing with desire, and while I had no feelings of romance for the Grand Duke, it had been so long since I felt so wanted, and my physical reciprocation of his longing touch was involuntary. But I came to my senses. Grand Duke. But Bjorn's grip only tightened, his rugged arms pulling me closer towards him. Grand Duke Bjorn, this is not a good idea.
As you wish, Your Majesty.
Somehow my words got through to him and he retreated. With a calm and polite bow, he placed his hat on his head and left my quarters. I collapsed onto the couch as soon as the Grand Duke was gone. I felt numb and was grateful for a chance to be alone. But before long, another guest entered my chambers, ushered in by my lady-in-waiting, Eliza. Your Majesty, Lord Oscar is here.
Bronwyn! Hello, sister!
As soon as the Countess opened the door, my older brother bounded into the room and embraced me. He was just as strong as Grand Duke Bjorn, but his arms felt safe, not dangerous. As we stood apart, he studied my face.
You look somber, Bronwyn. Is it because of your husband and that whore?
Oh, Oscar.
How dare he make you so miserable? All of the commoners are talking about your husband and the concubine.
My brother's teeth were clenched, and his fingers were curled into fists. I looked downward, feeling unsure of myself. I did not want to hear my brother talk about my husband being in love with another woman, or the baby that threatened my entire family's legacy. When I dropped my gaze, I noticed the shopping bags near his feet. I was eager to change the topic. Are those gifts? For me?
Yes, I hope you are pleased. So tell me, where is that woman staying, Bronwyn? Do not play dumb with me. The lowly enslaved tramp, concubine to your asshole husband. Where does she stay?
Oscar. I rushed over to cover his mouth. Be careful. careful what you say. It is dangerous here. There are eyes and ears everywhere. My heart sank as I thought of Viscountess Verdi, my once trusted friend. I knew now that even my own ladies could betray me. I nodded to Eliza, who quietly rushed all of my ladies-in-waiting out of the room.
Oh, please, everyone knows my personality is garbage anyway. Chalk it up to being a protective older brother.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to kill both of those bastards.
And be put to death?
Then I will just kill her.
Also a crime punishable by death, Oscar. She is with Aldrich's child. So if you touch that baby, you will face an even heavier punishment. You must also realize that without Miss Rose and the baby, Aldrich will simply find another concubine. In order to distract my spiraling brother, I rustled through the shopping bags and pulled out a hat. I placed it on my head, hoping it would make him feel better. But once he caught sight of the calendar on my desk, the hat might as well have been invisible.
What is this? A banquet? You have to organize a banquet for her?
Yes, I do all the banquets. With this, Oscar turned on his heel and left. I watched him anxiously, and then removed my hat and placed it on the couch. I looked out the window, wishing that I would see Majesty flying towards me. I lost myself in thought, hoping that Prince Henry and Majesty had made it to the Celestial Isles safely.
Prince Henry sat in his brother Wharton's chambers, holding the ailing king's shriveled hand. Lying amid the splendor of beige and golden linens, beneath an expansive headboard decorated with fine gold embellishments, the king looked impossibly small. With each rattling breath Wharton took, Henry's heart sank further and further. It took a long while for Wharton to recognize him, and when the king finally spoke, it was with rasping breath.
Henry.
Yes, Wharton. I am right beside you, brother.
You must marry.
Henry tried to hide his amusement, but his brother returned his chuckle with a weak smile.
You will be my successor. You need a successor of your own. For a king, to find a queen is not a choice. It is a responsibility. The Celestial Isles deserve a good woman. One who is not just lovely to look upon, but a queen who will love our people.
What if there is a woman who is both?
Then do not let her go.
Henry held back tears as he recognized the strangeness of the moment he was living in. He was watching his brother transcend to another realm, preparing to leave his legacy behind. As Henry contemplated what his own legacy might look like, and whether his new responsibilities and his wants and needs would ever be the same, Wharton continued to address Henry, slowly losing focus as his consciousness drifted away from him.
Look after your sister-in-law, Catherine, my wife, my queen.
Of course, brother. Always.
And do not let the nobles ignore you.
What do you mean, brother?
I will always protect you.
Wharton's trembling lips closed, as if merely speaking was too much effort. He sucked in a few heavy, slow breaths. His grip on Henry's hand loosened. His chest, which had been rising and falling, came to a rest. Henry closed his eyes and let the tears stream down his face without wiping them away. The doctor stood up from behind Prince Henry to check Wharton's pulse, and then spoke somberly.
The king has passed.
Henry turned away from his brother's body to the trusted nobles who filled the room. He wiped the tears out of his eyes to be sure he was seeing correctly. The nobles were all kneeling.
All hail the new king!